Welcome back to Massage Stories, everybody. This is the second installation into our Massage Therapist Story series, and this is going to be part 2 from school. So enjoy these stories, and if you get a giggle, feel free to leave a comment and a thumbs up. Quick reminder, the YouTube algorithm is not many of us, well, the YouTube algorithm's not anybody's real friend. It does what it does, but when you like, comment, subscribe, hit that thumbs up, and share this video, it helps the rest of us out a tremendous amount to spread this useful information for everyone to actually have. And maybe brighten somebody's day by being silly just a little bit. Okay, so the first topic we're going to be talking about today is teens in massage school. Back in the 60s and the 70s, this might have worked. Might being the key term. I don't think so much nowadays. With helicopter parents and feminism and a couple of other stupid things that are going on, I don't really feel like teens today had, well, I don't think they have the same clue that, let's say, their parents or their grandparents had as teenagers. You know, teenagers that served in Vietnam definitely had probably more grasp of what was going on in reality versus nowadays where an election doesn't go the way they want, and so the school gives them a day off because they emotionally can't take it. Even at law school, I mean, yeah. In my class, the teen that turned 18 during the class, it was the same disaster. Her big issue was me and my freedom of speech. And the beauty of freedom of speech is it doesn't hurt me when somebody says they don't like what I have to say. Okay. I have the freedom of speech to speak what I want. You have the freedom of choice to choose if you like it. But that does not impede my ability to say it. Except in this case. Apparently, she bugged the teacher so many times, and they went to the owner and the owner's wife so many times because I talked about being fat. And I wasn't the only fat chick in class. There was 3 chicks that were on the hefty range. There was a 40-year-old over us who, wow, she really took responsibility for being hefty. And throughout the entire course, the 9 months that we were doing this course, she lost a substantial amount of weight. I mean, she took responsibility for her body. Then there was me in the middle. I'm the oddball. I don't care. I just say my body's like a Viking goddess. Viking men would look at this body and say she is fertile and she can survive the winter. Yes. Maybe not a berserker, but I look pretty healthy in their standards. And then there's the 17-year-old who turned 18 during the class. They were so offended when I used simple words like we and us that she just, I'm pretty sure at this point that she had like an emotional breakdown over the fact that I used words like we and us to describe my family and I, but I didn't mention them by name, so she felt that I was talking about her. And let me tell you, when I talk about somebody and they're not family, what happens typically is I mention them by name. But Snowflake got so offended that the teacher told me that I couldn't tell any more stories about being hefty for the rest of class. And the rest of class was 6 months. Yes, I don't feel like teenagers nowadays know how to handle their stuff. And they are way more easily offended than I was. I mean, and my schooling system, golly, I was in special ed. Seriously, if anybody's going to be offended and be easily offended, it's probably going to be me in this instance, but it wasn't. This particular student, the world is going to cripple her because she already crippled herself and she was crippled by others. I find it nicest to be honest. And I was honest, and nobody liked that I was honest with her. I'm like, your imaginary friends are just that. As soon as class is done, they're going to be going to the wind, and they're not going to be your friends. And everybody's like, you can't say that. I just did. Freedom of speech. So long as it is not terroristic threatening or, saying people should go cause harm to other people, the freedom of speech protects your ability to speak. And what we have nowadays is so many people so afraid to speak. And what corrects bad speech is not less speech, it's more speech. So if you're a teenager and you're thinking about becoming a massage therapist, get a thick skin. The world will eat you alive unless you have that thick skin, because not everybody and their brother is going to protect you. A lot of them are going to let you out to the wolves. You might get nipped at, you might get clawed up, but you need to get a hold of reality, because the rest of the world, stuff happens. Stuff happens and nobody does anything about it sometimes, sadly enough, or nobody can do anything about it. But if you're going into massage therapy, I recommend highly, before you even take the classes, get a job at a spa or a retreat or someplace where massage therapy happens, so you can get a good idea and clue by seeing what the therapists go through, by seeing the interactions with staff, by seeing the interactions with clients. This gives you a clue if you can handle it. I'm pretty sure this 18-year-old got done with class, didn't even finish the MBLEX because she didn't display a lot of decision-making skills that were beneficial. And 90% of the massage industry that you're going to run into is female. This is an industry not by sexism or anything, but predominantly a lot of people want a female therapist. They find that works. I personally am working on being very, pro male therapists. The male therapists that I've worked on, that have worked on me, have all been very professional. One or two that I worked with were a little squirrely, but I think that's because of them being trained differently, and the environment in the spa is very much an indicative thing that tells you about the therapists. But yeah, in this instance, teens in massage therapy, unless your mom was a massage therapist or your dad was a massage therapist and you really have a respect for the industry and you know how to handle issues when they come up, this is not something I recommend for teenagers. I recommend that you do a couple of summers working at a spa, seeing from the ground up how it works before you go in. This teenager clearly did not. All right, so story number 2 is during internship. And so instead of having 8 or 9 classmates, it's split, and so I have 5 or 6. And 5 or 6 did not work with me any better than 8 or 9. The teacher could only put us in with those that had passed, and so the class was split. One half was internship in one time period of the class, and one was the opposite, so that they could keep internship going, and you're not going to be having that much competition for clients. I don't know what it is with this particular class and their dislike for freedom of speech, but there's going to be times in any class where you have trolls, and this story is about trolls. Not that I called them that, but that's what they pretty much labeled themselves. So I'm having a disagreement with 2 of my fellow classmates, and there comes a time in any conversation where you have to determine if the conversation's actually going somewhere or if you're just circling the drain. And unfortunately, I wasn't that wise at the time. I wasn't as smart as I am now. I kind of realized that a little too late. And there are those times where you're going to laugh or you're going to cry. And I decided I wasn't going to laugh and I didn't want to cry because it's a sign of weakness. So I decided to talk to myself like the crazy person that I am. So I sat there and I told myself, mid-conversation. I'm not even looking at them. I'm covering my eyes and I'm telling myself, stop feeding the trolls. Stop feeding the trolls. Stop feeding the trolls. And they got so upset about it. It's like, what'd you call us? And I'm still sitting there telling myself, stop feeding the trolls. Stop feeding the trolls. Like little children, they ran to the owner's wife. My gosh. These are two people that profess to be adults. And like little children, they ran to the equivalent of mommy because somebody was saying trolls and they didn't like it. Yep. I'm hoping that these people forgot to take the NBLEX because I don't think that they have the mentality necessary for the industry. So I get drawn into the equivalent of the principal's office. That's what I like to call it, the principal's office. And this is kind of what set every interaction with me and my bosses. So they're sitting there. I'm sitting there. They're like, well, it said that you called two of your fellow students trolls. And I had to sit there and explain, no, I was talking to myself. I said, stop feeding the trolls. And then I had to sit there and explain what trolls were. And so they thought I was talking about like trolls, like the ones from myth and lore. And I was talking about the ones off the internet. The ones that we all know just want to fight, just want to argue, don't care about your point. They just want you to keep going and going and going until you shut up because there's some subgroup that thinks that if they shut somebody up, they've won, when in actuality, the point's rather moot. You just rendered somebody unwilling to have a conversation with you. And so, yes, I got in hot water for talking to myself and saying, stop feeding the trolls. Okay, so I know I was poking fun at a lot of my fellow classmates. Yes, it was really easy. And all of these stories, in fact, did happen. But I will also say something about myself, because if I'm embarrassing them, I'm embarrassing me, because fair is fair. I will say this, that I don't do well in environments where people don't give me a chance and they just purposefully isolate me. To me, that is just stupid because you're inviting trouble. And I am trouble. I'm the oddball. I'm the one in every crowd that is the weirdo that will take where, everybody in the room is talking and nobody has seemed to confine it to the group. I will make a statement. And apparently they didn't get the hint that the weirdo in the class was officially going to say, hey, quit ignoring me. I did this through the whole class. Halfway through, I started doing it just for fun. Because if I was being treated horribly because of some unknown thing that since day one, there's like there's three theories that I have about why from day one I was just ignored. And like I said, if I'm embarrassing them, I'm embarrassing me, because I know that embarrassment goes all the way around. By the time I get pulled into this principal's office, I decide, you know what? Nope. I could have been nice. I could have been very friendly. But it's stated, do unto others as you would have done unto yourself. And they ignored me and they treated me badly. And so the group as a whole were telling me that they wanted to be treated badly. All right, message received. For the second half of the class, that was my intention. I went in and that was my goal. I did anything and everything just to be this sandy itch under their skin, because they've told me since the first portion of the class they want to be treated badly. The only ones that really didn't get this were, I think there was like 3 of them. It was the oldest male in the class, really nice guy. He and I managed to get along for 2/3 of the class, but when you have 3 people avoiding getting on somebody's table, that means you have 3 people that are going to be on your table at least 25% more than everybody else. I had 4 of the guys in class that were on my table, a sum total of 15 more times than anybody else in the class, because you have 3 people that always jump and they don't want to be on my table unless there's no chance whatsoever of doing otherwise. Okay, so like I said, I was just determined to like they sent out whatever they wanted to be treated as, and then it was my intention to return. So the other two that really they weren't being super nice, but they had the intelligence enough to be cordial. So like I mentioned in another story, there was another hefty chick that lost a lot of weight during class. She was older than me. Matter of fact, both of them were older than me. There was two girls, and both of them were moms. The other one was she's an immigrant that came here legally. I think she came here via marriage because we got to see her awesome husband and her son. And she got extra credit of class because not only did she take the test, but what she did with her test was she wrote it in Chinese, in Mandarin Chinese, and then translated it into English because her English wasn't as strong as her native tongue. And so, like, the teacher's like, man, you answered the test not only in English, but in, like, Chinese. I'm impressed. I'm going to give you some extra credit. This was, you do not want to get on her table and ask for deep. My gosh, she was like 4 foot. Gosh, she was. I'm 5'8" after yoga, and she barely came up to my boobs. I mean, you'd think this little thing couldn't do much. I'm sitting there going, can you lighten up the pressure a bit? I'm pretty sure my internal organs don't want that much pressure. But yeah, it was her, the oldest guy, and the older hefty chick that were like neutral parties. And like I said, there's three theories as to why from day one, I hadn't even done anything to anybody except for say hi. There's three theories as to what went wrong with this scenario. One, and I know there's going to be a lot of haters out there that are going to try and say, no, it's not that, but this is a theory. So you're going to have to prove me wrong first before you say, no. Okay, so day one, we get in and like everybody's kind of introducing themselves and we don't insinuate. We know this for a fact, okay? There was a gay guy and two gay girls. How do we know this? The two gay girls within a week of school started dating, even though one of the gay girls was going through a divorce with her ex-wife. Yeah, that really is just, anyways. The first theory is they saw how me and the gay guy, who is the self-professed bully, really didn't get along that well. I mean, I could have got along to get along if it wasn't for the fact that, you have somebody not following the rules. I mean, he's like, don't waste our time. And then he proceeds to waste a half an hour of our time on something that isn't even massage. They saw how he and I butted heads and determined, well, he's special because he's gay. And somehow, little old me, who had, for that first 4 or 5 weeks, determined that I was trying to be polite, trying to be nice, somehow I'm the bad guy because I'm trying to be nice. And I'm not acquiescing to this idiot who is just being a bully, and he's bullying the teacher. The second theory is that they just mentally, outside of those three people, and the fourth guy that came in later, he was roughly my age, but he was married as well for a couple of years. So I think intelligence wise, he seemed to have a healthy relationship. So that takes you really higher up there on my respect scale if you're a dude. Most dudes typically start out pretty high, but there are some dudes like the taxi driver that just, when somebody shows you something, stick to it. But no, the second theory is that it's virtue signaling. Everybody's like, well, we can't have the gay guy being, made to actually think before he acts, even though he took 3 vacations on a minute-for-minute credit class, and when you're late 2 minutes, you have to make up 30 minutes. Yeah, don't care on that one. The third theory is, and to explain this, I'll use the religious context so that you kind of have an idea. The third theory is they realized that I was the weirdo, that I had an opinion of my own, and after 5 weeks, I stopped caring if I made any friends with them. And they all didn't like that, because when I was trying to be friends and everything, there was some sense of, if you ask her nicely, she'll stop talking and we can ignore her again. Yeah, once I stopped that, it got worse. So any one of those theories could have worked, and any one of those theories could be right or wrong, hence why they're a theory. And for the religious context, we typically see this in people that defect from a religion. So I am a member of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, and so a lot of people nicknamed us. We're not actually called this, but we're nicknamed Mormons. And so you see a lot of anti-Mormons who used to be Mormons who just, once they left, they don't want people even to see the charitable good work that the church does, and they can't say anything but bad things about it. And this is my mirror theory, where what you once used to hold true to, you now can't stand, and thus you want to destroy. All right, so that's all I got for you on this string. If you liked it, give me a thumbs up. If you feel like you went through school and you knew people like this and you wanted to say something about it, feel free to say something in the comments. Ring that bell for further updates of when I post new stuff. And if you like this content, go to MassageWise, the channel, and I have more goodies for you. So until next time, people, enjoy!